Hello, everybody. We're trying to get our watch time up. So Kelly suggested ASMR whispering. I think, though, we just sound like we're about to murder you. So we're going to switch to regular speaking now. And this is Bog Panda. I am Dr. Mike, official pagan on everything. And joining me, of course, as always.
I can't do it. Can't do it. Hi, everybody. This is Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram. And if you get a moment, we would really appreciate it if you consider subscribing to Bog Panda. Hit that notification bell so you won't miss new entries. On a fairly recent entry, we discussed Harbor Day, which is a holiday that I made up. And but more importantly, we plugged a Kickstarter out there by Jamie Koala. And I'm sure it's not exactly a coincidence that on the day that that video dropped, Jamie's Kickstarter got the hashtag love from Kickstarter, projects we love. So it got some attention from Kickstarter, coincidentally, on the day that Bog Panda declared its support for Jamie's Kickstarter. So you do the math, people. Pretty easy to figure out. So wouldn't you want to
Hashtag
subscribe to a
design
channel like
Amazon.
that? Like it, watch the videos over and over and over again. Leave us a comment, and watch a
We
few
should
more
start a
videos.
Kickstarter. One of the perks should be you ASMR whispering something of of the supporter's choice.
Oh
Maybe we'll
God,
give
a
them some
hunch.
different poems or something they can choose from.
Yeah, Dr. Seuss. I go. There's a children's story, Mike and the Big Lie, that I think would be a good one. That
The audiobook, the ASMR audiobook.
yes, that would be good. I've got to dig around and see. I think Rebecca Kennedy actually has the official cover to the official the Golden Book of Mike and the Big Lie. I'll have to see if I can scare up an image of that. I don't know. That may have been taken down to Mar-a-Lago. I'm not sure. I'll do some digging, but maybe it's around somewhere.
Well, today we're going to talk about something. You sidetracked me for a second there because I was just thinking when you mentioned Mar-a-Lago, if I ever got the opportunity to be harbor master, I'd make the harbor great again. But today we're going to talk about something that seems like it's great already. That is the Atari 50th anniversary collection. I don't know about you, Kelly, but when I first saw this announced, I wasn't particularly excited by it just because there's a ton of Atari stuff that's out there and readily available. And because we're both fight stick owners, we both have a lot of these games in officially licensed form, not just counting, things like the Super Console X or anything like that.
Yeah, and there are a lot out there, and there were, I mean, whether it was on blasts from at games or just millions of different of other packaging, the Couchcade, there's lots and lots of different ways you can get to different portions of the Atari catalog. A lot of it centered on their greatest success, the VCS or the Atari 2600. But there's a pretty good body of work, some good arcade stuff too, and lots of different packaging out there.
Yeah, a lot of the content, the expected content is already available. Now, they did announce there would be like bonuses and some, maybe some interviews or some artwork that would be included with this, which is becoming more and more commonplace for these kind of collections, which I'm a big fan of. I'm a huge Castlevania fan, so I got that first Castlevania collection as soon as it came out. It comes with a lot of cool stuff and artwork and things like that, and that's really really great. And I was really excited for that. I wasn't sure though that I'm enough of an Atari fan. I'm certainly not like Kelly has already made the switch to Atari tokens as his only form of currency. So, I don't know if I'm that far down the Atari rabbit hole, but as more and more details of this start to trickle out and now full reviews that we're getting, this seems kind of great.
It really, really does. And with the exception of, I've had quite the argument at Aldi getting them to accept my Atari tokens, but we will prevail at the end. But yeah, it really looks amazing, and it's interesting because it didn't. It's not just like we're going to load this up with as many games as possible. They did include quite a bit of video content and reference content, but it's not like they just dug around and said, "Oh yeah, that'd be good, that'd be good." It was very thoughtful in what they put together, and they really tell a clear-eyed version of Atari's history. They kind of own the not so great times of the 5200 and the 7800, and they do provide a little context on why maybe it didn't work out and maybe some parts of it were underappreciated, but they also kind of own that they got owned during that time by some competitors. So, but it's a fascinating story to kind of see how they've gone through, and the packaging looks fantastic on how it's all kind of pulled together, and you get kind of extra context like Ninja Golf. We've mentioned Ninja Golf multiple times before on shows, but to get kind of the context on the platform that was on and kind of how it all comes in just makes it all the better, more enjoyable for me to play.
Yeah, I'm a huge Ninja Golf fan. What excited me about this, though, wasn't just the inclusion of that, because I am such a big fan. It was cool to see they were including some Lynx games on there. Now, I already have a Lynx collection for my Evercade, which is very rapidly becoming one of my favorite consoles and favorite ways to play games. But it's still cool to see, something on an Atari product like this that has Lynx. But way more importantly for me, we're getting a selection of Atari Jaguar titles.
There you go. Absolutely.
And that is really interesting. So Atari Jaguar is a system that I feel like most people have not played. And I myself didn't play it until well after its original lifespan. There's some really interesting stuff going on with the Atari Jaguar. For some reason, though, and there's a giant like indie and homebrew community that popped up around that. So you can still get Atari games that are coming out, like on flashcards and things like that. For whatever reason, though, and I'm not enough of a hardware guy to be able to explain this, unfortunately, but it seems like Atari Jaguar games are really difficult to emulate. So you rarely see them, even on things like Super Console X. So you rarely see Atari Jaguar titles. So the fact that that was included, and from what the reviews are saying, everything plays great. There's not a huge selection of games. I think it's like 6 or 8 of them or something like that. But I mean, it's still impressive that it's included, and it does include their big launch titles. It's missing. There's one glaring omission in there. The biggest game that Atari Jaguar had as a platform was Alien vs Predator. Obviously, I'm sure licensing with Disney and Marvel was not going to be something that they could do for this. I can only imagine the millions of dollars and months of paperwork and things like that would be involved. So, of course, that's not included. So, I've seen a few people complain about that. I would have never thought that would be included, though.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, it's really, and who'd have thunk it? It's not like they've done a bad job on the stuff they put together, but it felt very formulaic in terms of, okay, we'll put some more games out, we'll do some things here. It is their 50th anniversary. They're the number one cryptocurrency out there.
Right.
But they're kind of doing it up, and to me they did it right, and to kind of be able to kind of own some of your mistakes, put it all together. It's just, if you're a fan of Atari at all, I really don't know how you cannot get this. I just think it's a really great package to see. Now, the interesting question, and the thing that I am struggling with the most, is what platform to buy it for. Because I can get it for my Switch, as documented on Bog Panda in the past. I'm third world Switch. I'm the Switch Lite, so I can't get it connected up to a TV. I can only play it on the mini console, and there's just so much to this in terms of the videos and all that. I'm just kind of wondering if I'm going to be super thrilled with that package. I can get it on Steam. If I get it on Steam, I can put it on my projector, and I want to kind of do some things that way. I can run it through my At Games Legends and kind of play it more some of that for some of the games. And so I'm not really sure which route I'm going to go, although I might go both, at some point. But I'm kind of thinking my first foray might be Steam, so that I can kind of enjoy it in a big screen environment and also play it on the Legends. Where are you
That
headed?
makes sense. I'm definitely going Steam for it. Especially when I saw that it's going to include, because again, a lot of the 2600 games we have already in some form or another. It's a lot of the classics, a lot of the arcade games we have because of the fight stick, whether it's that or Super Console X, a lot of the arcade games, some of the 7800 stuff. What's exciting to me is the Lynx games and especially Atari Jaguar, because again, not easy to get your hands on some of those games. And it does have, other than their biggest title, it does have the most notable Atari Jaguar titles are included. Cybermorph, which was their big game that they had pushed at the time, even though it got kind of a mixed reaction, that was the one Atari really believed in. It also has Tempest 2000, which was probably their most popular after Alien versus Predator. And it has their most infamous title, Fight for Life, which was a infamously bad fighting game that people point to as like one of the worst games ever made. They included that. It was the last official game released by Atari for the platform, and I think that's why it's included. But they had kind of given up to that to such a degree on that. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was programmed by one person the entire game. So, I mean, I my experience with it so far is very limited. So I'm sure I'll play through the entire game a few times once I get the collection. Um, Again, though, for something that was programmed by one person, I'm sure it's impressive if you think of it in those terms. Like Scream 3 is a terrible movie, awful, barely watchable movie. But when you hear what happened to Scream 3 and why it's like that, it does make it a more interesting watch. So, and I think that game probably falls into that kind of a category. So, I'm really excited about the selection of games. The video content is really exciting to me because I think it would be cool to see some of that stuff. One of the clips that I was watching was like them talking about doing drugs in the office or something like that when they were making it. So, like you said, this is not necessarily a fluff piece. This is them kind of acknowledging mistakes were made along the way. But yeah, for me, it's really, I wasn't even thinking about putting it on the Legends. Obviously, that's going to be the move as far as the game room goes. But I was thinking about like Cybermorph and Tempest 2000 on the projector. To me, that those are going to be really fun.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it would be it's good stuff. I really think it's worth a shot. And I talked about it a long time ago. Maybe someday we'll get to it. Amiga Forever. So if you wanted to kind of it wasn't an anniversary edition, but Amiga Forever is the most outstanding kind of Amiga emulation environment out there. And as you bought certain packages of it, it came with additional video content as well, which is super fascinating to watch. And it was real kind of behind the scenes on the last days of Commodore and some things kind of going on in Amiga world and all that, and the parties that they were having afterwards and all that kind of stuff. So you got a really good kind of insight on it. Video quality of production, it's 80s home video content, so it's a little bit there. But each little set piece was good, but it didn't have the wrapper around it like it looks like Atari 50 does. That it just kind of gives you a timeline, puts everything kind of in context. It still kind of serves up those really kind of realistic video moments and all that, but really also does it in a way that you kind of just tune into, okay, here's where we're at, and all that. So I just gives the Amiga folks something to shoot for down the road, because I think that would be fascinating as well. But this looks fantastic. So I'm very much looking forward to getting it, enjoying it, and of course, as Dr. Mike and I get this, we'll come back with some additional discussion on it. But I have a hunch that'll be just further confirmation on how awesome this is.
Yeah, I mean, it really looks great. I'm very excited for it. All the content includes. One thing we didn't even mention is it also includes a couple of new games. So that's an interesting selling point as well. A few of which are remakes of existing games, including two of my favorite 2600 titles, Haunted House and Yar's Revenge.
And at least one homebrew, if not more, games I think are also included.
Yeah, yeah. But as far as the remake side of it, I'm excited for Haunted House and Yar's Revenge, just because those are probably my two favorite 2600 titles.
Yeah, after Halloween.
Well, obviously,
the classic.
we were putting Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the top, and then everything else below. Custer's Revenge is in there somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah, it's in there somewhere.
somewhere in A list is Custer's Revenge. But yeah, it looks like a really cool thing. I'm excited that these collections are including kind of bonus content, and it seems like this could be setting a new bar for that. So I'm really excited to see that. I really thought we were going to get that to some degree around like the PlayStation and PlayStation 2 era because they kind of started toying with some stuff like that, if you remember. I got like a Midway Classics collection for PlayStation 1 that had a bunch of arcade titles and it had like very short clips with the creators before each one. I mean, they were like 30 seconds long, just kind of talking about the game really quickly, but it was still cool. Like it was still like, oh, we could see stuff like this. You know what I mean? Like I can't wait to see more of that. And then it didn't really happen. There's a game that I guess is kind of obscure now. I don't really see a lot of people talking about it. I don't really see it on a lot of emulators. There was a PlayStation 2 game called The Suffering,
Mm.
and the game was really good. I remember it being kind of popular when it came out, but I think PlayStation 2 was just so huge and there were so many games released for it that it's just one of those things where there's just so many great games that you can't really focus on all of them. But the Suffering was a pretty cool game. It was a survival horror, very much in the line of things like Resident Evil and things like that. But what was unique about it is it was set in a prison, and you were a prisoner when the prison gets overrun with these creatures, and you're trying to escape as well as not be killed by these creatures. So it was kind of an interesting twist on something you had already played in that kind of Resident Evil style environment. What was cool though on the disc, so PlayStation 2 discs were on DVDs. So that's how many people adopted the DVD format, was switching was buying a PlayStation 2. That had like special features on it, just like a DVD movie would have. And it had a little mini documentary that they put together. It was very cheesy the way that it was done, but it had a little mini documentary about the prison, and they modeled the prison after a real prison, Eastern State Penitentiary, which is here in Philadelphia, and was the site of one of our snark stocks that we had done. So just to kind of tie it back to us, and for anyone who doesn't know, we used to do a show called Snark Alec Radio, and there may be some sort of 10th anniversary spectacular in the works for that.
Right. Put
Maybe.
the Atari 50 to shame.
Bog Panda.